Hello, Mr. Tim Echols, who is running for the Public Service Commissioner in Georgia. My name is Trenton Adams, and welcome to the Cherokee County Republican Party candidate interviews. Thank you for taking the time out of your campaign to participate in this interview process. We've extended this invitation to all candidates in this race and sourced questions from the CCRP membership. We have found that it has been an asset for voters in making their decision. The video will appear on the Cherokee County GOP website and will be shared on social media. The interview will be shown unedited in its entirety. For the interview, we'll ask you a number of questions but can offer no prompting. There will be no right or wrong answers, only your answers for each question. We ask each candidate the same questions. And if this is all right with you, I'll have everyone introduce themselves, and then I'll ask John to begin asking the questions.
Sounds good.
I'm John Longshore.
I'm Larry Mrozinski.
Thank you. All right, John. So the first question is, would you authorize an audit to determine if the deregulation of gas marketers has been beneficial to the consumer or merely added another cost tier?
No, I don't think we're going to do an audit because we do ongoing audits. We're extremely conscientious of the accountability that we have towards marketers. There's one company in Georgia that's still regulated, Liberty Gas, out of Gainesville and out of Columbus, and I think folks can compare their rates with that of any gas marketer to kind of get an apples for apples comparison once you add in the pass-through charge from AGL. But I think the Sonny Perdue experiment of 1997 of deregulating gas actually started in 1999. I think it's been good for consumers. We are, I think, the envy of the nation because we have a gas company that's not allowed to sell gas. AGL can't retail gas. So consumers get the choice. They can switch, and there's a lot of consumer recourse through the Public Service Commission if a person has an issue with a company. So I feel like things aren't broken when it comes to natural gas deregulation, and there's not a lot that I would change in that regard.
The preamble of the Republican Party platform states that a smaller, smarter government that keeps taxation, litigation, and regulation to a minimum will keep America grand and lead to a legacy of growth and prosperity. With that in mind, how does the regulation of the internet accomplish this? And second, how does regulation of the cable, cellular, and other markets accomplish this idea?
Well, first, let's be clear that the internet's not regulated in Georgia. And when you talk about regulating internet, you've got to think about it in either a technical, more connectivity mode. In other words, can people connect to the internet? We're not talking about any content here. We're just talking about can they actually get onto the internet? And then you have the entire net neutrality argument, which the Public Service Commission has absolutely nothing to do with, which is a federal issue. So I want to be clear that we have an ongoing issue with connectivity in the state of Georgia, whether that's in South Georgia or North Georgia, is that the internet and connecting to it has become an economic development issue. It is something we've got to do better with. And at this point, the legislature has strictly forbid the Public Service Commission from regulating emerging technology. That includes broadband, DSL, VoIP or voice over IP, or cell phone technology. We're not allowed to regulate that in any way. And I think the comments that I've made regarding the Public Service Commission regulating internet has only to do with helping more people gain access to connectivity. That's my only concern, is that South Georgia and far North Georgia waited in line for electricity. They waited in line for mail service. They waited in line for landline telephone. And now many people in rural Georgia are waiting for decent internet connections. That is not net neutrality. That is simply getting access to it so that if your kid has an iPad from school, that when they come home, they can actually connect to the internet. And we have issues with this all across the state. Things are improving. Senator Gooch has a study committee going out around Georgia this summer, which I'll be participating in. I've got an op-ed that'll be running in rural counties over the course of the summer talking about this issue. but we must help our citizens connect to the internet because it has become an economic development, educational, and health issue.
Much has been made of the solar energy. Would you agree that the industry requires subsidies to continue to grow?
Georgia is the fourth largest solar state in the nation without a subsidy. Let's be clear. There's a difference between a federal tax credit, a state tax credit, and a subsidy. And we have grown solar through Georgia Power's Advanced Solar Initiative program without a subsidy. Now, folks need to know that our nuclear power plant, which I fully support, is receiving both a production tax credit, which is, quote, a subsidy, as well as a federal loan guarantee, which is, quote, a subsidy. It is a federal program. Our power companies taking advantage of that. Frankly, I don't think they would be building Plant Vogtle without it. So it is an important part of the mix. And if truth be told, existing nuclear power plants are being closed because of wind production tax credits that have really given wind energy an advantage. And guess how much wind energy we have in Georgia? Virtually zero. And we probably won't have any. So solar power has been incredibly helpful for rural South Georgia because it's flat, it's hot, they have cheap land, and they are in proximity to a Georgia Power substation. So I am fully in favor of continuing to deploy solar without a subsidy in our state, as we've done through the Advanced Solar Initiative program, and continuing to help the rural counties and their tax base and their boards of education be able to prosper with homegrown Georgia energy. Because I'll tell you this, that the wind energy that we're importing from Oklahoma, and we're importing the wind off of 122 windmills into our system without a subsidy, by the way, but that wind energy, as positive as that is, as great a story as that is, it produces 0 Georgia jobs. So I'm interested in seeing more biomass energy in Georgia and more solar in Georgia without a subsidy. And I think that's how we're going to continue to help our own local people impact our own local economies and provide for the energy needs of Georgia in the future.
Would you agree with the statement, in a free market, if an industry can't survive without a subsidy, I would not support it?
You know, when we think about free market economics, and you know, I think it's often we forget about the subsidies that the oil and gas industry has enjoyed through the years, because here's what happens with a new technology. Many times there are some kind of tax benefits to that. Let's just take the movie industry in Georgia, for example, that's receiving and enjoying great tax credits. And you know what? Those tax credits are supported by Republicans across our state, including our governor, and frankly, it's helped the Georgia economy. And I don't anticipate our legislature changing that. But you know what? If we did change that, and if we just willy-nilly took away those tax credits, I wouldn't say that would be a very conservative thing to do, because one of the things that Russell Kirk said in The Conservative Mind that conservatives believe in is slow change. Slow change is a hallmark of a conservative, as well as a number of other things, including an enduring moral order. But let's just take this idea of the free market. It's easy for us to take an industry like the oil and gas industry that has matured, that enjoyed tax credits, special tax treatment early in its infancy. And then as it becomes a mature industry, then to say to other type of industries that's trying to develop, oh, you can't make it without a tax credit, shame on you, we're not going to bless your industry. To me, it's unfair. So, the Public Service Commission doesn't do tax policy. We don't create tax credits. I'll leave that to my friends in the legislature, and they have currently a tax credit for renewable energy in the Georgia legislature. They can keep it in there as long as they like. The Public Service Commission has nothing to do with tax credits. What we do is that we work along with AGL, the Atlanta Gas Light Company, Georgia Power, and we come up with a prudent energy plan that's going to look out into Georgia's future to make sure that we are providing for our people, that we don't put too many eggs in one basket. I mean, do we really want to put all our eggs in the natural gas basket and not do any nuclear power? Frankly, I don't want to see any more coal plants close in Georgia, because we have to keep our energy portfolio diverse. Very important. So, we're going to have tax credits for various things, I think forever, because legislators and those making tax policy decide that it's important to give those industries a chance. And I have no problem doing energy policy based on the tax law created by the state of Georgia. That's what my job is, and I will work with the cards that they play us, and that they deal us. We'll play with those cards, and we'll make sure that we're being prudent as we create energy policy. You know what's most important to me? Low rates. Keeping our rates low, and we're 17.3% below the national average. That's what I want. I want to help you as a ratepayer be able to pay your bills and be able to save money so that you can provide for your family. You can send your kids to college. You can buy that car. You can have that better house. That's what I want to do. I want to help you prosper as a family.
Would you reject any attempts by the Georgia House or the Senate representatives to block elected PSC representatives from shielding Georgians from power company rate hikes?
Well, first of all, I can't block anything at the legislature. Look, legislators, they're elected, they're duly elected just like I am. And who am I to tell them what to do? I've got my hands full just doing my own job. Of making sure that we're holding Georgia Power accountable, making sure that we're holding AGL accountable, make sure that we're keeping rates low for our ratepayers, making sure that we're being transparent. We have a stenographer at every single vote where we're recording every single vote, and have for decades. The Public Service Commission, a very transparent agency. So, when Georgia Power comes to the Public Service Commission every 3 years for their rates, which, by the way, was a plan created in 1991 by the Georgia legislature through the Integrated Resource Planning Program, I don't have any other choice but to follow the law. That's what we do. We follow the law. We don't serve at the pleasure of the legislature because we're constitutional officers in our own right. But as the power company, as prescribed by law, comes to us, which they are doing right now in this season of our year with the Integrated Resource Plan, we look at that plan. We have hearings where we hear from the power company. We hear from interveners like Walmart, Waffle House, AARP, the Sierra Club, whoever wants to intervene. We hear from them. They get input, citizens. And as we look at that energy plan, look at the powers company budget, look at the EPA regs, look at the EPD regs, we come up with rates in order for the power company to meet their revenue requirement. It's almost like we back into the rate in order to come up with it based on all of these other things, because that's what the law prescribes. And so we follow the law. If you look at Georgia Power rates over the last 5 years, for residential, it's been pretty flat, plus junk fees, it's been pretty flat. For commercial, it actually has gone down a little bit. So, how can you argue with 17.3%, according to the supporter report, below national average? I think things are going well here in Georgia when it comes to energy. The legislature And the governor and the Public Service Commission eliminated, or we concurred, we don't set tax policy, but the governor and the legislature eliminated the sales tax on energy for manufacturing. That's good because we can continue to attract manufacturing to our state. And as a result of manufacturing being here, look, they provide jobs. They provide jobs for our people. I was touring the Caterpillar plant yesterday, and I said, well, what's the biggest issue you have with employees? And they said it's employees who won't come to work and lose their job. We have great jobs in Georgia. You know what we need? You know what we need, moms and dads, grandparents? We need to teach our kids character. We need to teach our kids a work ethic so that they understand that in order to keep a job, you got to show up for work. You got to show up for work drug-free. You got to show up to work and work hard. These are important characteristics that Georgians need to exhibit. And parents, we're counting on you, not just teachers, not just college professors, to instill skills within your kids. It starts at home. And I have 7 kids, and I fully understand the importance of raising kids and teaching them character and values and a work ethic. But when it comes to Georgia Power, it's a company, it's one of the most respected companies in the state, and it is a company that, by the way, I haven't taken even a drink of water from in 6 years. When I go to their plants, I take my own bottle of water. When they serve lunch to staff and commissioners afterwards, I conveniently excuse myself and eat at a drive-thru on the way home because I don't feel that I can provide that company with the objective regulation and oversight that they need if I'm taking stuff from them, and that goes even down to a bottle of water.
Weighing the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant disaster in Japan and the evidence of tritium-contaminated groundwater from Indian Point in Buchanan, New York, how do you propose to protect Georgia residents from similar health threats?
Well, certainly you don't build the reactors on the beach. And we're not building the reactors on the beach. We're building the reactors way up the river, and our reactors are tsunami-proof. Georgia Power is looking at building 2 new reactors in Stewart County, just south of Fort Benning on the Chattahoochee River. We'll see. We'll be considering that and those plans. So we haven't had issues with Plant Hatch or Plant Vogel with nuclear power in Georgia. In fact, I mean, we should take a lesson from the French. I mean, the French are silly about a lot of things. Excuse me, my French friends. But, you know one thing the French aren't silly about? It's nuclear power. It's reprocessing nuclear waste. The French have really perfected this. And we need to take a lesson from them because for 30 years, we didn't build nuclear power plants in this country. That's unfortunate. Because you know how much carbon comes out of a nuclear power plant? Wait for it. None. None. They're carbon-free, and it's important for us to continue, I think, to build nuclear power plants. Yeah, there's been an occasional issue out there, but nothing like Fukushima here. The Japanese were too frugal. They shouldn't have built the plant where they did, and they should have built it higher. The Japanese were very prideful. They wouldn't let folks come in there and help them. Those generators got drowned in the tsunami, and and they were in a helpless situation. You know what? I feel like we run our nuclear power plants better. You know why? Because half the employees were in the Navy. They were Navy nuclear trained. Just do a little bit of study about what we've done with nuclear power submarines, nuclear power aircraft carriers. The United States is superior. Yes, we are superior when it comes to this and a lot of other things, though we allowed liberals in this country to keep us from building nuclear power plants for 30 years. That's unfortunate. I'm frankly proud that Georgia's leading the way. I would be in favor of building a couple more reactors, assuming we can get through these fairly close to being on budget and fairly close to being on time. I tell you what is most important to me as I consider these reactors. Are they still the best deal for our consumers? That's what it always goes back to for me, is are they the best deal compared to doing something else? And frankly, with where we're going with our energy portfolio and wanting to make sure that we are diverse and that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket like, frankly, a lot of states are doing, to me, is the route that we need to go. And I believe that we'll be successful, and I believe that one day we'll be very glad we finish these reactors.
Electrical smart meters emit microwave energy that some studies suggest may represent a health risk to home or business occupants. Should Georgia residents be informed of possible smart meter risks and how to mitigate them?
You know, there's ionizing radiation and there's non-ionizing radiation, and I have thoroughly looked at this issue. I have gone to the meter lab at Georgia Power. I've gone to the meter lab at Sawney EMC. I've taken the meter. I've tested it. I'm convinced that we're doing this safely. I want you to think about this, folks. Think about your smart meters. And if you're an EMC, you may or may not have a smart meter. Really, we shouldn't even call them smart meters because they're kind of dumb. They're dumb in the sense that they have a lot more capability and we're not using it. Think about it like it's a digital meter. It's a digital meter. And I'm going to tell you this, that if you have a router in your house and you don't turn it off at night, and you have it sitting by your bed or sitting in your child's room or sitting in your kitchen over there where you're making coffee or you're eating, you're getting a little bit of non-ionizing radiation. You've got that thing going around in your house 24/7. You know how often the smart meters communicate? 6 times a day in just a very short burst, just like that, 6 times a day. So unless you're going to go out there and like put your face directly in front of that smart meter and live out there, you're probably not going to be at risk. So I fought to get an opt-out at the commission because I had seniors coming in and they were concerned, and because they're my constituents and because they're concerned, I fought for it and I got them an opt-out. Before that time, Georgia Power didn't want to let anybody opt out. And so we were able to get the opt-out for people. They have to pay a little bit of money because we have to send a truck now to their house, where before we didn't have to do that. But I listened to my constituents, and you know what? If they were concerned about it, I should be concerned about it. That's what elected officials should be. But I think overall, in checking the safety of this, I'm convinced that we're doing this in a safe way, and there is minimal risk associated with digital meters.
Will you fight for rate decreases for Georgians?
Low rates is my absolute top priority, and I will continue in everything that I regulate to advocate for low rates. But you know what? When you think about what happened in Flint, Michigan, when you think about how that utility failed to improve that infrastructure and now wanting a bailout, you know what we've done in Georgia? We've replaced all the bare steel and cast iron pipe throughout our entire state. And you know what? It's cost money to do that. But it was the right thing to do. And were those costs embedded in rates? Yes. Of course they were. We're improving our infrastructure. But here's what I look at. How does it compare to inflation? And even with the AGL pass-through charge, it has tracked below inflation. So, yeah, I mean, we want quality service. And that means having utility poles that aren't dry rotting, for goodness sakes. That means having trucks that can get out to your house and service. That means having enough employees that can get out there in a timely manner to relight your furnace if it happens to go out, because that's what you have to do with natural gas. So it's impossible for rates not to go up. The question is, are they going up at a very slow pace? And frankly, I want the power company to have what they need in order to do their job. I want the gas company to have what they need to do their job. The small phone companies that we regulate across the state, I want them to have what they need. You know why? Because electricity and comfort in your home is part of your quality of life. Just like not sitting in traffic, all day while you're trying to get home to see your kids play baseball. It's important for you to have quality service. And I'm committed to you having that quality, reliable service. And I'm committed to providing the accountability to the power company and the gas company and the phone company that Georgia law mandates that I provide.
How would you avoid the appearances of conflicts of interest?
Well, certainly my policy of not even taking a drink of water from the power company or the gas company and the phone companies that I regulate is a very important part of not having conflict of interest. We're not allowed to hold stock in those companies. I think that's a very, very good rule. So, I think as you are trying to provide accountability and strict oversight, you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful that you're not getting too comfortable or cozy, with those that you regulate. And I've made that a priority over the last 6 years.
I received a landowner notification from a water company by certified mail. What does it mean?
Well, we don't regulate anything that has to do with water. So, I've got my hands full just regulating electricity, natural gas, and phone. So I don't know what, without seeing the letter, without looking at it, and having our attorneys look at it, I have no idea.
Often tax increases are passed on to utility customers under the guise of fees for the purpose of supporting other government expansion programs. Will you work to eliminate any utility fees?
When you think about your bill and the stuff that's on your bill, let me just remind everyone that the Public Service Commission is not a body that creates taxes. So if you, as a ratepayer, look at your phone bill, your cell phone bill, your natural gas bill, your marketer bill, your electric bill, the components of those bills are things that are impacted by our agency. So we don't tax, and we're not interested in burdening any of our constituents with anything that's not necessary. In 5 years, I've never flown on a state aircraft. We're frugal down there, and we're an agency that does a lot with just a little. So, I'm certainly, I'm not prepared to say that the power company, gas company, and small phone companies won't have rate increases, because what they do is they come to us with their revenue requirements, and we analyze those. We do audit them. We look very closely at what they say they need, and we're really sitting in for you. We are your proxy in dealing with a company that's been given a territorial monopoly. Understand that in return for being given exclusive rights to market in a certain area, the Public Service Commission stands in for you, the ratepayer, to make sure that everything is as it should be. And I think what's proof in the pudding that we're doing that is that our rates are 17.3%, below the national average, and we're going to continue to fight for low rates in Georgia, so that we can be competitive, so that we can attract manufacturing, so that we can be a state that continues to grow and provide for the prosperity of our people.
Do you believe the cost of utilities is too high in Georgia, and if so, how would you plan to reduce them?
What our family did to reduce our utility bill, given that I have 7 children and I had at one time 4 kids in college, is that we went on the time of use rate offered by Georgia Power and then with our EMC when we moved to another area of the state. And what the time of use rate allows a consumer to do is to voluntarily cut back on their energy usage during the hot summer afternoons. And with Georgia Power, it's 2 to 7, and with EMCs, it's 3 to 8. And we cut our own power bill by 35% in our family. Now that means that that you have to sign a document saying that that your power is going to spike on hot summer afternoons if you use that power. Our family, frankly, we turn our air conditions off during that time. We don't run the dishwasher. We don't run the washing machine. We certainly don't run the dryer, one of the biggest energy hogs in your home. And as a result of wise stewardship, good energy management, our family, along with many, many other families in the state, have been able to save 35% on our power bill. Do I think utilities are too high? I think we have a lot of control over the amount of power that we're using. And so, do I think eggs are too high? Do I think dry cleaning costs too much? Do I think suits are too expensive to buy? Things are expensive. We all have to make choices. Do I think college tuition is too high? Yes, I definitely think college tuition is too high. But I think with Georgia, it's 17.3% below the national average in electricity. When with good credit, you can get natural gas now at 32 cents a therm. That's pretty good. We don't control water. Counties control water. We don't control cable. We don't regulate the internet. We don't regulate cell phones. So with the things that we have oversight over, I feel like Georgia's in great shape. Again, the proof in the pudding. People are coming here. We're attracting manufacturing. That's a good thing.
In your opinion, what is the most viable form of alternative energy that should be developed in Georgia?
I think clearly solar power, as a result of the Chinese dumping a lot of solar panels in the U.S., that's unfortunate, but it did drive the price down tremendously. Wind energy, not fast enough speeds here in the mountains or off the coast at Tybee or Jekyll. And biomass, which is my favorite, which is basically taking wood waste and burning it for electricity, is simply too expensive. So that leaves us mostly with solar. And the way that we've done solar, very different than California, very different than Arizona. The Public Service Commission has really viewed solar as a power plant. And so rather than putting it on rooftops of your home and your church and businesses, we put it in fields in South Georgia, 500,000 panels at a time, 1 million panels at a time. And we do that for almost a third of the price that Californians would put it on their roof. That's the Georgia way of doing it. We've done it differently. We've done it economically. We've done it without a subsidy. And that's the most important thing to me, is to continue to be able to provide a diverse energy portfolio without a subsidy. That diverse energy portfolio helps our state prepare for a future when natural gas goes back up. You know why? Because once the EPA finishes getting their hands on coal and shutting down the coal industry, they're coming after fracking. And when they come after fracking, it's going to impact the price, and Georgia's going to be awfully glad that we've got a diverse energy portfolio then. Can't say that for every state.
What is your plan to make the public more aware of the role of the Public Service Commission and how it affects utilities in Georgia?
I think if you ask people, who's the most accessible statewide elected official that's out there? Who's the one that's on more social media platforms than anyone else? I think my name's going to come up in the top 3. So when I ran for office, I did say we were going to raise the stature of the commission. We've certainly done that. You know how you can tell? Google my name and see how many articles come up in the Atlanta Business Chronicle, the AJC, small papers across Georgia, national publications. I have been everywhere. It's going to be very difficult not to find an article that I've written about a topic, because I'm out there, I'm speaking, I'm with the public. You know why? Because when are you going to venture down to 244 Washington Street and work your way through the metal detectors and come up to our office and sit down with us? Like never. And that's why I've been at a Rotary Club a week for the last 6 years. That's why I've spoken in schools, in colleges, in tea parties, in GOP chapters, and churches, because people need to know how they can save money. They need to know what we're doing for them. And I've worked hard to raise the stature of the Public Service Commission.
Are you currently a member of your local Republican Party?
I have given money to many Republican parties, as late as last night, $250 to the Walton GOP. So I have and you just look at my campaign disclosure, go to the Ethics Commission, pop up my name, and you'll see out of the $220,000 that I've disclosed over the last 6 years, a lot of money going to various GOP chapters and helping them with their budgets.
We would like our elected Republican leaders to help us grow the party. Please briefly describe any significant efforts you have made in the past to support the Republican Party and/or Republican candidates locally, statewide, or nationally.
I think Sonny Perdue said it well when he said there's probably no one who's trained more conservatives in this state than Tim Echols. And let me take you back to 1994 when I created Teen Pack Leadership School at the Georgia Capitol. And over the last 20-plus years, that organization has trained over 40,000 young conservatives, not just in Georgia, in 42 states. I've invested in millennials in a big way. And you know what? Our party has to reach millennials. We have to reach our Hispanic community if we're going to continue to have a majority in this state. And I have spent most of my adult life training conservatives. I love young people. That's why I have 7 kids of my own. And I love training young people. So you just go down to the Capitol and just ask, have you seen any of Tim Echols' young people? There's a bunch of them. In fact, there are about 52 young people that are going to be flying in to Georgia to help me campaign in these last few weeks. So they may knock on your door. You may get a card from them. You may get a phone call from them. So please be nice.
Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a crime excluding traffic offenses?
No, I have not. I've never been arrested. Deer hunting one time, out of season, apparently. I didn't think I was deer hunting. I had a dead squirrel in the boat with with my .22 rifle and a squirrel license, but the game warden thought I was deer hunting because I had a 30-30, sitting there doing target practice on the river. But, other than a little brush with a game warden and a misunderstanding there, which was a $50 fine, nothing else.
Thank you. And have you ever been the subject of professional discipline or cited for breach of ethics or unprofessional conduct by any disciplinary committee, court, administrative agency, or other professional group?
No, I have not.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. That was all our questions. Thank you
Great.
for taking the time and being here with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to say for your interview?
Just want to say thank you for the overwhelming victory that you gave me in 2010. And I've worked hard for you, and I want to continue to work hard for you if you choose to send me back to the Georgia Public Service Commission. Thank you very much. God bless you.